Hello and welcome to the Spark Accounting Solutions Show. I'm Jenny Q. I'm your host, and I'm excited because today we're not only joined by Julie Babcock Hyde, who's on screen with me right now. She's the founder of Spark Accounting Solutions. She is a CPA, CFM, uh, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, Profit First Professional, and I know there's so many more. But hi, Julie. I'm excited that we have a really cool topic and a really cool guest. Tell us what we're going to do today.
So I'm really excited. We are going to be talking about some employee retention strategies. And I'm an accountant. This isn't something I specialize in. So I'm really glad we have our guest with us. And I think this is such a hot topic right now
Totally.
because, everybody's kind of scrambling for employees. Who are they going to hire? Please don't let me lose anybody. And so if we can keep our great employees, that is awesome. So with that being said, I want to tell you a little bit about our guests. We've got
Yes, please do.
Erin Longmoon here from Zephyr Connects, and they specialize in helping small business employers attract, hire, retain their dream team. And we all need that as a small business owner. So welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. I know you've got some great points. Let's just go ahead and dive in. We're talking about the 5 tips to increase employee retention. And I've had a chance to look over these. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about them. Because like Julie said, this is everybody's talking about this, right, Erin?
Yes, everybody is. And it's honestly in this hiring market, this very tight hiring market, retaining your employees is your best strategy, right? That's the most bang for your buck and the least stress is to just keep the people that you have. So hopefully these will be really helpful.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and jump into the first one, and it's build a strong company culture with clear core values. And so dive into it a little bit more for us, Erin, of what that actually looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So clear core values. Hopefully your listeners, we understand what that means. So knowing what like the guiding principles, the things that your company stands by and who kind of defines the values of how you operate, right? And if you have them clearly defined, you have them laid out, you have them in writing and not just a word, actually, you really should define what it means. So let's say it's integrity. That's a common one. Well, what does integrity really mean? And that means also what then do you expect of your team and to uphold that value. And having those clear values is really helpful, not just for guiding your current team in how they should behave and what you expect of them, but it also helps attract the right kind of candidates to you as well. So if you can start by hiring with people who resonate with those core values, and then keep those core values strong. Don't just say them at the interview and then let them go. You want to bring them into meetings. You want to talk about them frequently. You want to maybe highlight people who embody those core values of yours as they do that with clients or even with internal people. You want to keep them top of mind all the time. And that just kind of reminds people like why they're there, why they love you and want to stay with you, because they love your core values, because they resonate with them and they matter to your employees. So by not only having them, but keeping them top of mind and integrating them into the culture of your organization is what's going to help retain the right kind of people and have them want to stay with you rather than jump ship to somebody else.
Well, yeah. I mean, while I was listening to you, and Julie, I wonder if you were doing the same thing. Were examples coming to you of how you've seen this done well, maybe in your own company?
Well, what actually came to me as Erin was talking about this was really thinking through like how many of my clients actually truthfully have like written down what their core values are, because I don't think most of our clients do that.
Yeah.
And I guess my question to Erin would be like, how would you suggest somebody gets started? I realize this is probably a whole separate conversation, but like what's a quick way that people could get started thinking through like what are our core values and communicating those?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So that question, and it can go pretty deep, but I would suggest first off that you start with, they really should resonate and come from the leadership or the owner of the company. So whether it's a partnership, whether it's a single owned business, it really needs to start with their own personal core values. It's really challenging to build a company that has different core values than your own personal ones. So you do need to step back and kind of go, what are these principles that I basically would die on a hill for? Like, what really matters to me? And the kinds of questions that I tell people to ask themselves when they're thinking about core values is, would I quit a job if this core value is violated? Would I leave a relationship? Would I go become an activist, politically or some other way? Like, what really gets my juices flowing and matters to me? Because that's when you've touched a core. And so, if you ask yourself questions as you're thinking about different core values and those ones where you're like, that is it, then you've nailed one. And you can do the same thing with your leadership team. If you do want to incorporate, if you're a larger company, you might want core values to really come more from your whole leadership team. Do the same thing. You can Google lists of core values. There's many, many lists with hundreds of different words. And you can do the same thing. Like, would you leave a job if this was violated? And have people write down core, the things that they came to conclude, and then you can pull them all together as a group and sort through them, and then figure out where they overlap, and then that usually will get you your core values as well. So those are some quick tips on how to do it.
Awesome, very good. Yeah, I was going through all the times that I've been in those meetings where the core values are being established, and it's fun. It's also team building, right?
It is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So number 2 is create inclusive opportunities to connect through social engagements. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this, because lots of people are working remotely right now. So
I know it can be a challenge. Well, first, let me share with why this is so important and why this made the top 5. And honestly, in some ways, it should be on the top 1, just between us. There is a new study that came out. MIT Sloan published it, and it really was about the Great Resignation. And this new research came out to say that toxic workplaces were what at the behind the scenes of what was going on. And when they did a lot of research to figure out, well, what are the kinds of workplaces where people don't leave, the high retention rates, social engagements actually was number 1 on that list of things that ensured retention. So don't knock the idea that social engagements are whatever, they're just fluffy things to do. They actually really matter in creating connection between your team outside of the stress of work. So now inclusive opportunities, of course, are things like, what we mean by that is, think about your team. And do you have family, do you have parents who maybe can't do evening stuff? Do you have people who maybe don't particularly like sports? But maybe some people do, maybe some people are artistic and creative, but other people are not at all. Like, that would scare them. So try to create a variety of social engagement opportunities so that at least some of your team at every time, is satisfied or feels like it's an event that they can enjoy throughout the course of the year. And then going to the virtual thing, that is challenging. It means we've got to start getting creative, but you'd be amazed at what some providers and what people have been able to do because of being forced to through the pandemic, right? And so, for example, at Zephyr, we have done a couple cooking classes, and we actually had a chef from Thailand teach us how to make Thai food. And it was amazing. And, you've got murder mystery things, you've got Family Feud, you can do painting classes online. And I know, Julie, you've done some pretty fun stuff with your group, which is virtual. So, what are some of the things you guys have done?
Yeah. So we always try to do a wacky holiday every quarter. And sometimes we have little get-togethers. And so this week was National Pink Day.
Nice.
And so we all dressed in pink and sent out pink gifts to all of our team members and did pink trivia.
That's wild.
And so we do these fun things. 6 months ago, we did National Princess Day, and everybody made their own crown.
That's awesome.
And did Disney princess trivia. But we do try to do these things. And I want to just say that I loved your comment about the idea of inclusivity. I remember working at employers before where, every outing was always, we're all going to go play golf.
Right.
And about 75% of the team played golf. And the 25% of us that didn't were just like, okay.
Yeah. What about us?
I'll drive the cart.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah. So I
Right.
love that because I think that's important. And I think
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with a client this week to talk about, some of the things that really mattered to me that made me stay places was because my friends were there. This
Right.
is my work
Yep.
family, and
Yep.
I don't want to leave them.
Yep.
So I think that's a really good point.
I think that's a part of why the social engagement thing is so strong and powerful because again, during the work day, you maybe get a few minutes to really kind of get to know each other, but mostly you're working together. And this allows that opportunity for everyone to see each other as a whole person, not just this like work persona. And then when you get that, you do get a deeper connection with the people you work with. And then, yeah, you want to go there. I mean, we work 40, sometimes more hours a week, right? When we're in our professional careers. And you're like, I want to work with people I really care about and that I really like. So it is kind of up to an employer, we believe, to create those opportunities for the employees to connect and not just assume it's going to happen organically, because in some cases it just doesn't.
Well,
So,
and to your point, Erin, the employees may not take action because they don't know if it's appropriate.
right. Which is
Mhm.
actually, yeah, that's also a really good point. There might be this sense of, is it okay if we go out afterwards? Or,
Mhm.
where are the social lines and the social norms?
Yeah,
That's what I love about small business too, is that, we just get to be family oriented so easily, and we get to do these fun things and not have to worry about some of those, I don't know, kind of political correctness type of boundaries and things, not
yeah,
to cross them, but we get to just, be a little bit more casual, which is lovely.
that is awesome. And I
Yeah.
want to come work for both of you guys now that I've heard all the fun things you do. So if you've got openings, let me know. Okay, so let's go to number 3. Offer
Yeah.
challenges for growth, both
Yeah.
professionally and personally. And I love, love, love this one. And
Mhm.
even I just can't wait to hear what you say because I vaguely remember reading some studies on how this is one of the most important things for people within their company is the training and the opportunity for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And, certainly in any kind of, professional type position where you really do want to have someone stay for a while, they're really contributing to your company. You want to provide them opportunities for growth. We humans we want to learn, we want to grow. It's very few people who want to just, kind of stay stagnant, right? And also it depends on your core values, but if you are like us and you've got a core value about like, we have an always improve, always be better, always strive for even if it's just one incremental little step to be better, then we need to put our money where our mouth is, right? And offer these kinds of professional opportunities. And what I like about the personal side too is, again, we're employing a whole human being. And I think that's a mindset shift that we need to start thinking about. And I think it's happening. I think I'm seeing things out there that employers are trying to pay more attention to mental health and some other aspects of the holistic employee. And that is it. So don't just think about necessarily the professional, like I'm going to teach you how to become an expert in Excel or QuickBooks or, take the Profit First course or whatever, but how can I make you a better communicator with our clients? Well, guess what? That's also going to make them a better communicator with their spouse or with their friends or in their personal life. So personal growth stuff really pays off. Now, and then the employee also feels, rightfully so, that you're investing in them as a human being, not just the skills that they think you need and want to capitalize on, right? It's like, I really care about you as a person and I want to help you grow and develop as a person. It's like growth mindset stuff. So, yep, it's a powerful one and it really does pay off for retention.
Totally. What are some of the examples? Because I think the professional growth, we can all kind of assume what it would be in our industry, right?
Right.
What are some examples, either Julie or Erin, that you guys have implemented or
Go.
seen for
I've
personal?
I've
Yeah.
got one that we're doing right now
Oh,
that I love. We just did the whole team took a DISC assessment,
mm-hmm.
and we're doing some additional training on that. But the platform that we're doing it on, not only like you can see what everybody else is, but it also says, hey, if you need this person's buy-in, here's some things that are important with this person. And there's another section in there that also says for your other relationships, like outside of work,
Nope.
here's how to work better with things. And people can use that and take that home with their families and say, this person is really different than me. And I think they're here. And this is how I can interact with them better.
Yep.
And so I love that.
I do too. And I love that you brought up DISC. We did the same recently. And I think what is important about DISC is invest in the extra training. Don't you think, Julie? It just deepens it so much. Just knowing what someone's, letter is not enough. And when we did our training at the end, our facilitator said, tell me like one way this has impacted your life. And I really kid you not, over half of our staff said how it's impacted their marriage or their parenting relationship was the first thing that they brought up, and of course it's helped us at work, but it was, how much deeper that training was able to go. And then one other one that we're doing, I'm so excited. We're going to start this next quarter is active listening. We're going to be doing a full active listening course with our team and really learning how to get out of our head as we're listening to someone talk, and like we're already, the moment someone opens their mouth, we're thinking of our response. We're thinking of our position. We're thinking, how do we feel about what they're saying? And so we're going to start learning tools that are going to help us stop that and really actively listen to who's talking to us. And of course, that's going to impact all of our lives outside of work, as well as working with clients, interviewing candidates, all of that. So I'm really, really excited about that one.
So much. And so what I'm saying, Erin, is no, I'm kidding. But reflect back to you, right? But the thing that I've seen, it also works in reverse. So I was consulting for a client who owns a small business, and I brought up an assessment that I thought would be very useful. It was a different one. It was Strengths Finders, right?
Oh yeah.
And so at first he was like, yeah, let's do it. And the employees were so excited that we were going to do this, but then it kept getting pushed down the list of priorities for time. It wasn't a matter of money. It was just a matter of time and focus.
Right.
And it was sad for the team that he didn't move forward with it, because it does do exactly what you guys it just brings together, and then it, ripples out. Who doesn't want to make that impact in their employees' lives?
Right.
Yeah.
And that going to that investment piece, when an employee feels like you're really investing in them, they're going to turn right around and do the same, right? They're really going to invest. So again, that's why it's on a retention tip list, is because, then they feel more like, wow, this person really cares about me and my life. I'm going to turn around and give my all for them. And they'll just really believe in what you're doing and being a part of the team.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Pay attention to the feedback. It's one thing to ask for it, right?
Yes, it is one thing to ask for it. Yes.
Follow through with the changes. Talk us through that one, Erin.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many of your listeners have been in this scenario, but a lot of us probably came from some kind of corporate background, right? And they had the suggestion box in the cafeteria or whatever, and you'd put your suggestions in there, and then that was it. It was a big black hole, right? You never really saw any changes or felt any changes. Now, in a small business, it's a lot easier to actually take that feedback and do something with it. So number one, yes, ask for it. That's the obvious. Jennifer, you're spot on there. But when you do ask for it, pay attention to it, listen to it, understand what's underneath it. Maybe don't, sometimes it can feel like criticism or a complaint, but really what an employee is doing when they're doing that is giving you feedback. And if you can kind of take the emotional sort of piece out of it and really look at what they're trying to share with you, and invest in that, then turn around and do things to help improve, to address that feedback. If you can't always, and that's fair. But when you can, really do it and talk about it. Like, don't just do it quietly. Say, hey, I've been getting feedback from the team that they'd really like more, flexibility in their work schedule. And I understand that. So how about we ease into that by starting with, everybody can have a flex day on Friday, or, you come up with a solution, but then share it. And if you tie that solution or that shift you make into the feedback that you've been given, then again, your team will start to feel like, oh, I'm being heard, I'm seen, I am valued. What matters to me matters to my employer. I mean, it just speaks volumes. It goes so deep. So, you don't have to do everything. And I do recommend, if there is feedback, especially if it comes from multiple people, the same kind of feedback, that is something you should really pay attention to. But if it isn't, but someone gives you feedback and you're like, we just can't do that right now, is to have a one-to-one and talk to them about why, so that they understand the reasoning why you can't do something, or why you can't do it necessarily the way they want or when they want or something. And again, then that gets that communication going, that they feel, okay, I was heard, but I understand why they can't give that to me right now, and that really helps strengthen the trust between you and your employees.
Yeah, that's so good. Julie, do you have an example from your company that you can share of how you implemented exactly what Erin just talked about?
Well, I want to talk about a couple of things, what we've seen some of our clients do too. A
Mhm.
lot of times, we work with small businesses, and as they grow, like it's like, okay, we need to start offering benefits. We need to start doing these other things. And it's so important to find out what really matters to people.
Right. Yes.
And
Yes.
because
Yes.
because just because you think everybody wants health insurance, you
Mhm.
might find out that everybody's already covered under a spouse's coverage, and they don't care about health insurance. What they really want is 3 more vacation days.
Right. Yep.
And so it's important to ask those questions and get, as you're, you know, trying to do things that benefit your employees, find out what they think will benefit them, to really get those questions answered. Something else that is interesting to me, just from my world, we have a coaching program that we are involved with that really says, you need to know your net promoter score. And their definition of that is basically asking both your customers if they would refer you,
Right.
and your employees if they would suggest that their friend work there.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really basic measurement of, getting feedback.
Yeah.
Because if you start getting no's, you've got to start finding out why.
Yeah.
But I like that idea of like remembering that you need to talk to your customers and your employees, because you can't take care of your customers if you don't have employees.
Correct. That's such a great connection right there, Julie. And if I can add in, because you made me think about how to get feedback a little bit. And we've definitely had clients who've said, I ask, and my people are always like, oh, nothing, everything's fine. And they feel that they're not being truthful. Some people say they do the anonymous survey and they'll get some stuff back, but usually the same thing on a small team. They're like, everybody knows we're going to figure out who it was, right? Like these are the things that we hear. So what we have done that I think really helps, and it kind of goes into number 5 a little bit, I'll be honest, is that we do quarterly reviews or quarterly check-ins with every one of our employees. And what we've done as leadership is we've set the stage. It's okay to say critical things. It is okay. It is safe to say the things that you might be afraid to say, that you're unhappy about something, or that, this isn't working for you. And the way we've done that is by bringing up very pointed questions like, hey, I want to know, does the schedule work for you? Are you enjoying your clients? Are you enjoying your coworkers? What about working with, this leadership person? Like really asking very specific questions, but then also just modeling too, like being willing to, this is going to be a little unusual, but like in a team meeting, I might every once in a while go, gosh, I am so frustrated about a client that I'm working with right now. And that just sets the stage that it is okay here to bring up the hard stuff, by modeling that. And so if you can do the quarterly check-in, which is providing like a safe space and an intentional space to get feedback, and then also modeling that it's safe to do so, I think those 2 things really help foster a feedback loop, that starts to happen over time.
I love
That's
that.
that's so good. And listening to all of your tips, it's like it's it's really the key components for all relationships, right? We
Right?
just need to bring it
Right?
into the workplace. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
good.
it
And
is so good.
you did touch on number 5 just a tiny bit, but I'd love
Yeah.
for you to expand now that it's up on the screen.
Yes.
Create a workplace where it's safe to make mistakes and speak up. I love
Yes.
this so much.
Yes. And this is a cultural shift, I think, that I see happening, even actually all the way in schools and things too. So I'm really hoping, give it a generation, and this probably won't even have to be up here anymore. Because I think, my parents' generation, my generation really grew up with this. You've got to be perfect and do everything right. And if you make a mistake, you can get fired, and it's really, you'd be in big trouble. Right. And we felt that, I think, in school. I know I did, and you just get the big F or the big D or whatever. And now there's a fostering of, we learn when we make mistakes, right? Every great inventor invented 1,000 things before the one thing that was awesome. And we're starting to really understand and know that making mistakes is both innate part of being a human being and this human experience we're having. but it is how we learn. It is the best way to learn. And so, we really encourage employers to say it is okay for an employee to goof up, to make a mistake, to foul up and be, like sometimes even bigger mistakes. It's if they learn from them that matters, right? And how it's handled. So reprimanding and shaming and doing all the old school stuff is really not the best way to get that person to learn from their mistake. It's the, oh, wow, that was a huge mistake. Okay, cool. Let's step back. What did we learn from that? What do we want to do differently? Does this mean a policy change? Does this mean a change in, how we communicate? Like, how do we as a collective team help prevent this from happening again, and what did we all learn from it? And when you approach it that way, people then feel safe and they know it's okay to be vulnerable. And that's another thing that's come up in research studies is as one of the top 3 is that your retention is directly related to how safe and vulnerable like an employee feels in their workplace. Is it okay for me to just be me, make my mistakes, learn from them, move on, grow, and that kind of thing? And when you set that kind of a foundation, your employees will really, really respect you. They will really honor what's going, like what you're trying to build, and they'll be loyal. They'll be just so loyal. And that's ultimately what retention is about, right? So I'd love to hear, either of you talk about that, because I feel this is one of the topics that we don't talk about enough in retention.
What's interesting to me on the mistakes thing is I think like so many small business owners start out with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start and they forget that they got to where they were by making these mistakes and learning these lessons. And that's how they know so much after how many ever years they've been doing it.
Right.
And then they get employees and they are so afraid that the employees are going to make a mistake.
Right.
And they are. And, remembering that most of us are not doing brain surgery.
Right.
Nobody's going to die.
Right. Right.
And with our team, it's like, it's just money. Yep. Certain mistakes we definitely like. Yes, if we mess that up, it could be there. It could be late. There could be fines. We could have to pay them as accountants. But then like the ones we really don't want to mess up is we don't want to mess up one of our customers' paychecks. And so, setting these, expectations around, yes, we're still going to mess up here sometimes, but we're going to try 500 times harder not to here.
Mm-hmm.
And if something happens here, yes, it's still a mistake. We're going to learn from it. But really that experiential learning model that, like you said, like in schools and like 4-H, when my daughter was in 4-H, it was really about, what did you do? Did it turn out the way you thought it would?
Mm-hmm.
And if no, what are you going to try different next time?
Right.
And helping our employees work through that and knowing that like, no, nobody's going to take your job away because you made a mistake.
Yeah.
The question is, what do we need to fix so that we don't do it again? And do we need to give more training to everybody? Is it just one person that needs it? What do we need to do to support that? And so I really like that idea of like, let people make mistakes, because like also as employers, people are so afraid to delegate.
Yes.
Which limits growth of their business because they're afraid employees are going to make mistakes.
Right.
And the answer is they are.
Yeah, just know they are. Yeah.
They are going to make mistakes.
Yep.
That's how you got to where you are.
Yep.
And how do you help them learn from it? And what does that mean? Like underlying, like, do you have a policy problem? Do you have a process problem? Do you have a training problem? Do you have a person that just doesn't want to do things that way? And then maybe they aren't a fit if it gets down to that point, but it's probably, I always am like, it's process that we need to fix before people.
Yeah. Right. And I'm glad you hit upon that, because often when you explore, when you look a little under the hood of the mistake, It's often what you said. It's either a policy, a misunderstanding, a training problem. There's usually some underlying reason why the mistake happened. And then and I hate to say it, from our experience, it's almost always something, for us to fix, not even the employee to fix. And, so it's eating a piece of humble pie. It's like, okay, you made that mistake because we somehow didn't train you well enough on that piece, or we didn't explain that policy thoroughly enough, or whatever the case may be. And we're like, all right, let's fix that. So at the end of the day, they may have made the like top level visible mistake, but under it, I think sometimes we're the ones who actually made the mistake. So, when you work together collaboratively to solve it, then you get somewhere, right? And I think the other thing you hit upon was we employers, we made mistakes to get where we are, to be the experts we are, but we also make mistakes in this whole new world of being an employer, right? Or being an entrepreneur. That's new. So I definitely come out and talk about the mistakes that I make too, which again goes to that modeling that it's okay when I say, I really messed this up, you guys. And I know that you all felt a little of that, and that was on me. I am so sorry. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it. And I own, as an entrepreneur, I try to own the hiccups that I make, the bad decisions that I make, the trials, the things that fall flat and all of that. And then that sets that stage too for it's safe. It's safe here to make mistakes. It's safe here to try things and not have it work out, and, to model that for them.
Yeah, that's so good. I love what both of you were saying about modeling and also prioritizing. Like Julie, you're talking about, most of the mistakes are not brain surgery, but let's really pay attention to these because that's really critical,
Right.
but even if we can still fix it, like nobody's going to die, right? That's
Right.
so huge. And again, I just keep thinking these are basic relationships,
Yes,
right?
they
Yeah, it's
are.
just like
They
it works
are.
in every relationship. So it's awesome. Now, I was so surprised, and I bet the viewers and listeners will be too, at which one you put as the bonus. It didn't make it. I wonder, let's stop for a minute and have everybody think what hasn't been said on the list. And maybe even more
Mhm.
so, what was your top thing that you thought was going to be on the list when you heard the subject was 5 tips to increase employee retention? Because I would have thought this would have been at least in the top 3. And
Right.
you're offering it, Erin, as a bonus. So tell us why.
Yeah, it didn't make the top 5 because those other things actually are more important when you really look at why teams that like employers that retain teams and
Yeah.
employers that don't, those are the 5 things that really stand out. But the
Yeah.
bonus one, of course, is you can't ignore pay and like being competitive pay and raises, basically, which is
Yeah.
what that's about. You can do all of this, and if you really are under market value with your pay, you
Right.
will have a very hard time keeping your people. People do, at the end of the day, have a job so they can make ends meet, pay their mortgage, pay their food, go on trips, have an enriching life, and we live in America. It's a very capitalist kind of culture here. We need money to do these things and to have a life that feels fulfilling. And so you have to still do the competitive pay, and you still have to consider regular raises. And, there's a variety of ways to do raises. There's a variety of ways to even pay people. But at the end of the day, if somebody does get approached and you're $20,000, $15,000 lower, or even 5 than the next employer, it's going to be highly compelling for your employee to leave you, even if you have these great things. But what's so interesting is that the pay was not number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
It's critical, but the other ones are the ones that will really have someone turn down another offer. So if you've got competitive pay and you're doing these 5 things, headhunters, recruiters, people like us can come after them, and they'll be like, nope, I'm sorry. I am so happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
See you later. And they just, no matter what the pay is, they won't care. So you have to have it all.
Yeah. Interesting. Julie, this is actually your wheelhouse, right? So what creative ways have you helped your clients come up with maybe, of course there's the base pay and salary and all that, but I know that we've talked about this in previous shows. Bring it all together for us here.
Well, it's really interesting because this is a hot topic right now. Like,
it is.
As people are driving down the road and seeing what other people are paying, because everybody's out there going, please come work for us. Please.
Yeah.
Please. We had a restaurant here locally that was offering $1,500 sign-on bonuses if you stayed for 90 days.
Wow. And on top of like a ridiculous hourly wage, right?
Well, tips, right? Most of the restaurants
Oh, for the
still
restaurant?
aren't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Their
in
wages
Idaho,
still
yeah.
aren't that great. It's
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
sign-on bonus. So I mean, there's all kinds of interesting things that people can do, like if they're trying to attract people over with sign-on bonuses, but like keeping employees and making sure that that base pay is good. Like, do you need to have incentive pay? Do you
Mhm.
need to get creative and look at like what are the other things that what are ways we can pay our employees that
Right.
are not taxable to them? And getting
Ooh,
really creative with that compensation package and
Ooh.
making sure you're taking advantage of those things, because deductions for you and non-taxable income for your employees are beautiful and wonderful. It's the best of both worlds for everybody. So there's definitely ways to get creative with this, but kind of looking to see what's out there, and looking to see too, like, if you have to give raises and you don't have the money for it, you got to get creative with your budget too.
Right.
You may need to raise rates.
Yep.
With the cost of things going up, you may need to raise rates, especially if you've got cost of fuel and cost of team both going up. It
Mhm.
may be time. And I will say overall, we have a lot of customers raising rates right now
Yes.
and not getting pushback.
Yep. I think everyone's in the same boat in this case, right? Like from the economic boat. So I know that I've had rates raised on me. I know that we've raised our rates recently, and our clients are doing the same. And I think we're all like, okay, I get it, because I have to do the same. And so I think you're right. There's not a lot of pushback right now because we all understand,
Yep.
which is really helpful. And
yeah. Yeah, so much amazing information in this.
yeah.
Erin, I want, and before you tell us how people can get in touch with you, Julie, I want you to just talk about really quick. You're offering the 5 core chapters of Profit First. And it's at the bottom of the screen. They just go to bit.ly/sparkpfbook. But how does the Profit First method play into all of what we just talked about?
Um, Really, as we're talking about like figuring out like what you want to pay your employees, how you want to fund some of these great ideas, figuring in that into your profit plan, figuring out the right allocation percentages, figuring out where your revenue needs to be to fund all of that is really important. And using the profit first formula to make sure you've got the money to do all of those things and stay profitable and pay your taxes and pay yourself, small business owner. Um,
Novel concept.
all
Yeah.
of those things are important. And this kind of walks you through like how to set yourself up for success so that you aren't forgetting. Like, it's really easy, small business owners, to take care of everybody else first.
Yep. Right.
But with profit first, you're going to get pushed to take care of all of that and yourself.
I
Yeah.
can, if I may, I'm a huge cheerleader. We do Profit First, and I think it is the most brilliant thing about, that any entrepreneur can do. And every new entrepreneur I meet, I either gift them this book or I tell them to, go get it, and to get a service like Julie's that is a Profit First professional. It is a game changer. It is a total game changer. So I don't usually cheer on a lot of things. I read all the stuff like everybody else, but this one is truly life-changing and will change your business. So yeah, I'm fully in support of what you're doing here, Julie. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And people can just grab the 5 core chapters, bit.ly/sparkpfbook. So that's easy peasy. All right. So Erin, tell us how people can get in contact with you, and who would even want, I mean, not who would even want to, that's not what I mean. Who do you serve? Like, who would
Yeah.
be like, you know what, I can totally help you and help solve your problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see on the screen, zephyrconnects.com is how you reach us. And Zephyr is Zephyr. And in case anyone wants to know, it means a gentle breeze. And that's because working with us is so easy. But the kinds of people that we serve are small business employers who want to attract and hire and retain their dream team. So if you need hiring help, you're really struggling finding the right kind of people. You either make hiring mistakes or maybe you just don't have time. That's a great, those are people we serve. Or if you're like, I've got an awesome team, I'm a little worried about them leaving, what kinds of things can I do to make sure that I retain them? Some of the things we talked about today, and you want more coaching or consulting around that, then we can do that. We've got a couple of really great ways we help our clients in the retention side of things as well. So, and industry wise, I mean, we're really open. We just really want those small business employers. We want to be a solution to small business employers because we really don't have a great solution in this space right now. So it's affordable and very, very effective.
Awesome.
So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay. So they just go to zephyrconnects.com.
Yeah, they can do that. And they can also email me directly if you'd like at Erin@zephyrconnects.com. That's fine
perfect.
too. I'm happy to have your emails come into my inbox. I love them.
Awesome.
One of those
Very,
rare
very
people
good.
likes email.
What?
I said I'm one of those rare people who actually enjoys email, as long as it's, real email. I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Very good. Well, Erin, thank you so much for joining us and sharing
Yeah.
all this amazing information. It's so timely and so important. Julie, as always, thank you for your time and your expertise. And you guys, if you have any questions for Julie about any of this, just go to sparkaccountingsolutions.com or go to the Facebook page and just hit the contact us button. And with that, we're out, y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.